Southeast Asia's top diplomats, they are gathering in Manila for the ASEAN Foreign Ministers Summit, with the war against Iran expected to be the focus of the three-day gathering. RT correspondent Dwayne Dizon reports from the venue.
I'm situated here in Manila, where the 59th ASEAN Foreign Ministers Meeting is getting underway amidst what experts are calling a full-blown Asian energy crisis. The summit brings together the foreign ministers of all 10 ASEAN member states alongside key dialogue partners. Heavyweight global figures in attendance include Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov, and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang. Dominating every discussion is the severe disruption in West Asia following joint U.S.-Israel military strikes on Iran. The de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz has cut off 34% of global crude oil and 19% of global LNG flows, marking the largest energy supply shock in modern history. Where the crisis is global, Asia is bearing the heaviest brunt. Regional economies rely on Hormuz for up to 96% of their Middle Eastern crude, leaving import-dependent nations exposed with minimal strategic petroleum reserves. Developing Asian economies are facing power outages, fuel rationing, and soaring inflation, while India's net oil and gas import bill surged 45% in April to June quarter alone, reaching nearly $50 billion even as actual import volumes dropped. Opening the plenary session, Philippine Foreign Secretary Maria Teresa Lazaro sent a clear message to delegates, stressing that amid external shocks, regional cooperation is no longer optional. It is a strategic necessity.
Acting together, it is our shield against external pressures and our engine for regional stability. If we do not move forward as one, we risk being pulled apart.
Beyond energy security and calls to operationalize regional fuel sharing agreements, ministers are tackling severe geopolitical flashpoints. Tensions in the South China Sea have reached a boiling point following fresh, violent maritime clashes between Filipino and Chinese personnel at 2nd Thomas Shoal. All eyes will be on whether ASEAN and its key partners, including India, Russia, China, and the U.S., can bridge deep political divide to stabilize energy routes and preserve regional peace.
And joining us on the broadcast is Mr. K.P. Nair. He is a strategic analyst, also an author. Mr. Nair, thank you very much for speaking with RT India. Let me start with the bigger picture here. This year's ASEAN Foreign Ministers Meeting, it isn't just about Southeast Asia anymore, right? From the Strait of Hormuz to the South China Sea, the same question, it seems to be hanging over the region. Who keeps global trade moving?
It is my impression that in some sense, ASEAN countries have already missed the bus in terms of what you are asking me. See, out of the ASEAN, all the ASEAN members, only three are oil powers. The others are all oil-consuming countries. Yeah. Even the three are not major producers. They need to depend on the Middle East and the Gulf for their oil. But when I say they have missed the bus, what I mean is that when the war started, when the Iran war started on February 28th, India took the initiative to reach out to Japan. And before that, India had already been negotiating with South Korea, which, along with India, are the biggest oil and gas consumers in Asia. And some sort of an informal buyer's cartel, if OPEC is the seller's cartel, the beginnings of an informal cartel are being negotiated among India, South Korea, and Japan. So that although there is no formal shape to this buyer's arrangement, what has happened is that this has somewhat fallen into place. So if ASEAN had joined these three countries in some way or another or started negotiations, they would have been better off. But now they are starting late, you know. ASEAN has started late in dealing with the problem of the Gulf oil crisis and Strait of Hormuz and now, of course, Bab el-Mandeb. But better later than never would be the common sense approach.
Mr. Nair, do you also get a sense that the priorities of the ASEAN countries, it is also changing? Because traditionally ASEAN has focused on the South China Sea. Now, with the West Asia crisis and the kind of disruptions that we have seen, especially with energy and shipping routes, do you think that the organization is being forced to think much more broadly now, especially about security?
You are right in the sense that the focus has been on South Asia, South China Sea for some years. But since the focus is shifting, I can see that there is an effort to bring the focus back to South China Sea. For example, yesterday there was a clash. We don't know whether it was staged or not. There was a clash between the Philippines and China, and the Philippines has said that one of their soldiers was wounded. So I suspect that this is an effort by the Philippines. Philippines, as you know, is a hardliner on South China Sea compared to the other countries which are more amenable to reason and diplomacy on South China Sea. So I think it is my suspicion that Philippines staged this incident so that there would be urgency and there would be immediacy on dealing with the South China Sea. But it depends on the others. I'm sure in the ASEAN Regional Forum, of which India is a part, this would not cut much ice because the other countries which are in the ASEAN Regional Forum, along with India, they will see through it, you know. And Russia is involved, China is involved. So these are countries which do not want crisis to be staged on the South China Sea. So we'll have to see. Philippines has created this situation. We have to see how Marco Rubio reacts, the U.S. Secretary of State. Because the United States also has vested interests in the South China Sea, and the United States is a provocator. So let us hope that the natural process and the realistic process of moving away from the South China Sea problem will continue, and there will be a larger approach to the urgent issues facing not only ASEAN but the whole of Asia.
Yeah, Mr. Nair, you spoke about China. You know, the interesting thing here is that Beijing, it depends heavily on the same energy routes, right? Yet it has largely stayed away from taking a visible security role. What do you make of that? Very quickly, sir.
Well, I think that is the Chinese policy generally, you know. China doesn't get into security issues unless it affects their core interests and is necessary. Even in the Iran war, China has by and large, and not only by and large, China has stayed completely away. At the same time, they have protected their interests in their own way. For instance, reducing oil imports drastically. In Beijing, many people no longer use their personal vehicles. They are using battery taxis. They are using electric taxis.
Right.
So China is very organized in protecting its core interests, unlike many other countries, and that is reflected in what you say about the security involvement.
All right. Mr. K.P. Nair, thank you very much for speaking with RT India.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Iran has declared itself in a full-scale war with the United States, despite reports of